Hello and welcome to the video. In this video, I have decided to come up with something unique. I have gathered a lot of data regarding two fighters who will face off on 15th of November this year. Using a data that I have gathered regarding these two fighters, I will come up with the most accurate prediction, and I'll even run it through an AI algorithm to be even more accurate. The results might surprise you, but a quick heads up before the video starts. I do not encourage anyone to use this information for gambling or betting in different sites regarding the outcome of the fight. This video is for educational purposes and for the entertainment of combat sports fans. With that aside, let's begin with Mike Tyson, who stands at 5 feet and 11 inches or 1.8 meters. And weighs at about 218 pounds or 99 kilograms. Currently, he is 57 years old, but despite his age, he still moves as if he was in his prime. To understand his combat capabilities, there are some factors that we have to consider beside the basic physical attributes. By that I mean we'll go through his punching power, punching speed, footwork, fighting style and tactics, reaction speed, stamina, durability, and his experience. After covering them, we will go through his training methods and what kind of mindset does he have. Covering all the previously mentioned points will, what I believe, help us determine the most likely outcome of the fight. Not only that, but at the end I will also run the information through an AI algorithm. Starting off with his punching power. It is estimated that a punch from an average person is at around 150 psi. The punch of a pro boxer is estimated to be at around 800 psi. Impressive, isn't it? Well, the punch of Mike Tyson is estimated to be at around 1800 psi. However, when it comes to the speed of his punches, there is no solid answer, since a proper search hasn't been conducted yet. But we can compare him to a famous British boxer, Ricky Hatton, who clocked a maximum punch speed at 32 miles per hour. So even though I suggest you take this with a grain of salt, but we can say that Mike Tyson punches are at around that speed, perhaps a bit slower since Mike Tyson is a heavyweight, meanwhile Ricky Hatton is a middleweight. Although some sources say that his punching speed is at around 15 kilometers per hour. When it comes to his footwork, it is closely connected to his fighting style and tactics as well, so we will include them all together. The way how Mike Tyson utilizes his footwork is that he aims to close a distance and attack from angles where it wouldn't be visible for his opponent. He quickly pivots his momentum and ends up on the other side of his opponent. The style of boxing that he uses is referred to as the peekaboo style, where while aggressively changing angles and moving forward, he maintains his tight guard. He has also developed a way to fight while staying low, making it much more difficult for his opponents to hit him. His head movement is also a major element, and we can even call it iconic. He uses it to slip past punches and close a distance where he is very dangerous. The other tactic that he uses, and the one that we most commonly see, is that after he slips through the punches and the attacks of his opponent, he goes straight to the body and delivers heavy and powerful hits. This forces his opponent to lower their guard and creates an opening for Mike Tyson. Afterwards, he knocks out the person. Generally, we can say that Mike Tyson's style is built around aggression and power, since even his simple jabs can break through a person's guard. The way how he does that is that, unlike most boxers, he uses his back leg for not only closing the distance but also when jabbing. He also uses his back muscles as well to create something similar to a push. So even if the punch doesn't knock the person out immediately, then at the very least that will stun them. Moving on to his reaction speed. Now, there wasn't any concrete scientific research discussing the reaction speed of Mike Tyson in particular. However, there has been studies that show the reaction speed of a normal human being, which is approximately 250 milliseconds, and the reaction speed of an elite athlete, which is at around 200 milliseconds. Considering the fact that his style requires quick reaction speed, we can argue that it might be at that range or maybe even a bit faster. However, with that in mind, we can only speak like that about the young Mike Tyson. In terms of the current one, who is currently 57 years old, we can argue that his reaction speed might be slowed down due to the age being a factor. Some may argue that that's not the case thanks to his muscle memory. However, we must keep in mind that his reaction speed is essential for his fighting style, in which he put countless hours in to develop. Moving on to his stamina, it is once again a debatable topic, even amongst experts in the field. However, we can still use the fight data in order to determine the approximate results. Mike Tyson's longest fight was against Jose Rebalta, where the fight went for a whole 10 rounds. Looking at the data provided, the number of throws were about the same. However, Mike Tyson was the one to actually land the most. This might also indicate his style's effectiveness, but it also has to do something with his stamina as well. The reason for that being when a person is exhausted and gassed out, their techniques usually start to wear off and they begin to miss more often. That is because of your nervous system. It gets exhausted as well. Even looking at the fight itself, we can see that his strikes are similar to lightning bolts. Moving on to his durability. It is not a secret that Mike Tyson can take some serious beating. That is not only due to his ferocious nature, but also due to the fact that he has a thick neck that absorbs all the incoming attacks. However, like with stamina, age has an effect as well. There have been numerous studies, to which I will leave a link in the description below in case you are curious, that prove that many fighters that have reached old age have a higher chance of receiving a knockout blow. Yet that isn't the scariest part. The severity of the CTE increase afterwards is maybe one of the most dangerous aspects yet, which can be dangerous, and as we all know, Mike Tyson has received a lot of blows to the head throughout his career. He has been doing boxing professionally for over 20 years. During that time, as we know, many hits to the head were received. So it would be rational to consider that he wouldn't be as durable as he was during his prime. In terms of his experience, he began to train when he was 13. He has found fights both in the ring and outside of it. Besides that, as previously mentioned, he had over 20 years of experience in the ring. On top of that, he is the youngest heavyweight champion out there. Now, let's cover his training methods and routine. In his younger years, Mike Tyson would usually train for 50 or 60 hours per week. He would begin in the early morning and start a run after stretching. He would do this at about 4 a.m. At noon, he would start to spar for 10 to 12 rounds, work with some pads, slip bags, and speed bag work, after which he would then move on to do calisthenics. At 3 p.m., he would shadow box, work on a heavy bag, do mat work and pad work as well. Then he will do calisthenic exercises again. His calisthenic exercise usually consisted of 2,000 air squats, 2,050 sit-ups, 500 push-ups, 500 bench dips, and 500 neck curls, and 500 barbell shrugs, and then 10 minutes of wrestling bridges. He would do them throughout the day. At 9 p.m., he would do active recovery work, which was 30 to 60 minutes on an exercise bike and a hot tub occasionally. He also used to work with heavy weights. doing exercises like bench presses and squats. Now, the reason why we need to know this info is that the training that you have done in the past does not go away easily. This is only true if you have done it for an extensive amount of time. Judging from the info gathered, his high rep range allowed him to develop fast twitch muscle fibers and fast oxidative glycolytic fibers. The first type allows him to perform powerful explosive movements like punching or just using his footwork. Meanwhile, the second type is more resilient towards fatigue, therefore allowing him to fight for a while. Regarding his current training regime, not much info is available besides the videos that have been posted online. We know that he uses neural muscle electric stimulation that is used for treating injuries and, briefly speaking, brings back the muscles to their best form. We also see him working with pads, heavy bags, and other explosive exercises. We can assume that his program might have not changed a lot. Finally, let's finish with probably the most interesting factor, his mentality. This is closely connected to his background, which many people are familiar with. He grew up without a father in a very dangerous environment with extremely poor conditions. Scientists have proven numerous times that the environment does have an effect on people. Mike Tyson can be one of those examples. Due to the very harsh and unforgiving environment, he developed his fearless and ruthless attitude. But it wasn't just that. He stated in an interview that once himself, he created an alter ego that made him a menace in the ring. He knows that he is the baddest man alive, and that he enters with confidence and with the intent to hurt his opponent. Something that he stated himself many times. Now, let's move on to Jake Paul and implement the same analysis. His height is at about 6 feet and 1 inches or 1.85 meters. His weight is at about 181 pounds or 82 kilograms, and he's 27 years old. With him, things get quite difficult. The reason for that is that he's quite new to the boxing world, and he is not a popular figure as Mike Tyson was. So not a lot of research or testing has been done on him by the scientists. So in terms of his punching power and speed, things can get a bit difficult. The only data that I have available is that one video from quite a while ago when Jake Paul was relatively new to the boxing world. While competing with Ryan Garcia, he managed to score 92 hits for 10 seconds. Keep in mind that he was at a very close distance to the bag. Of course, the video is old and we do get a footage of him working with pads. He does have quick hands. Just how quick exactly is a challenge to determine. But with that said, we can set a rough estimate of at around 13 to 16 meters per second. In terms of his punching power, we're met with the same results. The only video that we have is him punching his fellow YouTuber in the gut with, as he claimed, to be 10 to 15% of his power. The punch doesn't seem to be that serious, and it isn't. However, a well-placed shot to the body can easily knock down an untrained person, who his fellow YouTuber is. So in this case, we'll have to give him a rough estimate as well, at about 1,200 psi to 1,500 psi. Moving on to his footwork, fighting style and tactics. This part is not as vague as the previous one, but it's still complicated. Although many would agree or argue that Jake Paul's footwork is not as advanced as Mike Tyson's is, which is true by just looking at the experience. However, he is no joke and he's quite a technical fighter. His style is mixed, but after analyzing his fights, his style seems to be close to Thomas Hearn's style, which is often referred to as the Hitman style. We can see that by his stance, where his hand is lowered and his right hand is loaded, waiting for the opening shot. Some experts say that he also has a little bit of brawler elements mixed within his style. He has really good footwork, the one that is designed to keep his enemies at a distance and fire jabs from afar to either tire them or to create an opening for a knockout punch. Although his style lacks aggression when compared to Mike Tyson, he instead replaces it with precision. Moving on now to his reaction speed. Now, once again, it is quite difficult to determine exactly what numbers lie within this element. However, looking at his fighting footage, we can clearly see that he is well adept at avoiding hits and detecting openings. In this case, I would also have to put an overall estimate that the scientists have found when researching pro boxers. His speed is going to be at around 180 milliseconds. Now, moving on to stamina and durability. Again, I found no information regarding that. However, we can say that due to his young age, he would probably surpass Mike Tyson in both durability and stamina. Not to say that Mike Tyson won't last long, he will, but Jake might last even longer. Let's continue with experience. Jake Paul began boxing in 2018. His first professional debut was in January 2020. After that, he showed that he had a great potential in the sport, given the record of 10 total fights, 9 wins, 1 loss, and 6 wins by knockout. A pretty impressive record, especially considering that unlike Mike Tyson, he wasn't much of a fighter. Rather, he was a YouTuber and an entertainer. This just goes to show if a person truly desires something, then he will most likely achieve it. Finally, let's cover his training methods and his mindset or mentality. Generally, his routine begins like this. Monday. In the morning, 3 to 7 mile jog, then stretching and ice bath for recovery. Noodle drills, 20 rounds of shadow boxing, heavy bag workout and speed bag, core neck training, and recovery baths with ice. Tuesday consists of 4 to 10 rounds of sparring. Wednesday is sprinting, massage and cryotherapy for recovery. Thursday, strength training and conditioning in the morning. In the evening, 10 to 20 rounds of mat and heavy bag drills. On Friday night, light boxing sessions, and on Saturday he finishes it with a sparring in the morning and intense yoga training sessions at night. His routine is no joke, but thanks to it, he was able to build himself such an impressive record. While going through his training routine, we can notice that he is more focused on stamina and technique, which aligns with his fighting style. Now, let's discuss the mentality of Jake Paul and compare it to Mike Tyson. Jake Paul is not an arrogant idiot, as many people claim him to be. He is quite technical and calculative, both in fights and in the realm of business. He is also confident, although looking at the matchup, some might call him arrogant. There is some truth to that. However, we should also consider that he's a showman and has probably thought of this fight in a way to make himself more popular. Despite that, he is disciplined and determined. However, when compared to Mike Tyson, he lacks violence, ruthlessness, and the aggression that were a common trait to encounter in the champion's background. Before I reveal the answer that was given to me by the AI algorithm, I would like to present my own take on the fight. If you wish to skip, then you may skip to this part of the video. Now, for those who stayed, I believe that it will mostly depend on the mental side of the fight. Let's not forget, Jake Paul admitted that he was worried about the fight with Mike Tyson, which shouldn't really come as a surprise. If Mike Tyson manages to intimidate and break the young fighter's spirit, then the fight can be considered over. Jake will get mauled like the rest. However, if Jake manages to keep Tyson at a distance and manages to get a hold of the opening, then one shot will be most likely enough. Let's just hope that that won't be too bad, given the high probability of him developing severe CTE. In conclusion, fights are generally unpredictable, but given the data that we have, I believe that Tyson, with his intimidating presence and pure aggression, will overwhelm and prove to all that he is still the baddest man on the planet. Now, Let's move on to what the AI has to say. The name of the AI is YesChat AI Boxing Simulator. Here is the prompt that I wrote in. Then here are the results. But what do you think? Are there any loopholes in my analysis? And what do you think will happen? Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like on the video and don't forget to subscribe as well. Stay strong.